He's a proud citizen of the People's Republic of Brooklyn and now a temporary resident here in Cannes. Spike Lee's blazing a trail in cinema once again as the first black jury president at the festival. With Korean, American, French and Brazilian talent in that jury and more women than men, its president kicked off proceedings in very good company.
I have a history here in Cannes. 25 years ago, a quarter of a century, I was here with Nola Darling in 1986, and I've made several appearances, and it's an honor to be here. So I'm looking forward to it. Cannes is the world's greatest film festival. No disrespect to any other film festival.
One of Spike Lee's jury members took his first steps on this red carpet 12 years ago. Tahar Rahim was a fresh-faced newcomer when a prophet catapulted him to critical acclaim. He followed up with a string of impressive performances here in France and then quietly built an international profile, most recently starring as a Guantanamo detainee in The Mauritanian. He sat down with France 24 to tell us more.
Tahar Rahim.
Bonjour.
Over the last decade, you've been making a name for yourself on an international level. How did you get noticed by the English-speaking film world?
It started with Kevin MacDonald. He'd seen me in the Jacques Audiard film, A Prophet, 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. At the time, he was preparing for his film, The Eagle of the Night. He offered me the role of an ancient Gaelic speaker, and that's how it started.
Kevin MacDonald is the director of The Mauritanian, and for the role of Mohamedou El Slaoui, the production team were looking for an actor who spoke French, English and Arabic, which is your case. How different is it filming in another language?
It was a bit more of a challenge, so I found that exciting, like a new land that needs to be explored. Learning English was something I'd been working on and continue to work on, but at the time I didn't speak classic Arabic, and learning it was very complicated. So yes, filming in a different language is, I'm not sure how to explain it, but the vibrations aren't the same. The face moves differently, and therefore so does the body, and then the emotions follow all of this. It's like becoming someone else.
Donc c'est comme devenir encore un peu plus quelqu'un d'autre.
It's recommended you wear a hijab when visiting your client. We've had incidents of inmates spitting at female lawyers.
You want to represent the head recruiter for 9/11.
Mohamedou Ould Slahi, the Mauritanian held in Guantanamo. He recruited the guys who flew your friend's plane into the South Tower.
In the event the detainee lunges for you, push back away from the table. We'll get in there as quick as we can.
It's the true story of a Mauritanian who was tortured in Guantanamo after being wrongly accused of terrorism just after the 9/11 attacks. What part of the character were you interested in exploring?
Tout ce qui fait Mohamedou.
Everything that made Mohamedou, his humanity, his capacity to forgive and to make himself bigger, then all the questioning, his life, his force, his obvious resilience. I wanted to understand that. Then there's also the torture aspect. I felt I needed to get as close as possible to the real conditions Mohamedou experienced, so as to be as authentic as possible.
Pour pouvoir être aussi authentique que possible.
All my time here, I've been told you are guilty. Not for something that I have done, but because of suspicions and associations. I am innocent.
He has been interrogated. He has been held against his will for 6 years without a single charge being laid against him.
Does it bother you at all working for someone like this?
I'm not just defending him. I'm defending the rule of law.
You haven't seen what I've seen.
So there was waterboarding, starvation, beatings. Was this the most intense film you've ever made?
Oui, carrément, de loin.
Yes, clearly, because it involved all of this. I had to do a crash diet just before as to lose a lot of weight. It involved real handcuffs and cold cells and all the torture elements. The fact that everything was filmed in such a short and intense time frame. I think it took 25 days. We filmed from Monday to Saturday, sometimes Sundays. 12-hour days with no lunch break. The experience for me was very intense, so yes, it was my toughest film as an actor.
You used to refuse to take on roles of presumed terrorists so as to not be typecast for the wrong reasons. Why did you dive into this particular story?
I did say that I did not want to play a terrorist, and of course, he's not one. It's all because of the way the film industry, particularly Hollywood, portrays them. I feel that it rarely helps mentalities evolve, whereas I want to make people reflect on how to bring about greater story balance. That's why I wouldn't play them, and also to avoid being labeled. But in this case, he's not a terrorist. I researched him and really asked myself questions. When I read up on him, I thought there might be a mistake, but there isn't. So I did my homework. I studied his story. I questioned everything. Nancy Hollander herself said that if after all these years there had been the slightest proof, someone would have proved it.
Quelqu'un serait bienvenu pour pouvoir les montrer.
Nancy Hollander, donc, qui était son avocate.
Nancy Hollander was the lawyer in real life. In the film, she's played by the American actor Jodie Foster. What was it like to work with her, and did you feel a lot of pressure playing alongside her?
De jouer avec Jodie Foster.
J'étais ravi et en même temps j'étais intimidé quand je l'ai rencontrée parce que c'est une.
I was delighted. At the same time, I was intimidated when I met her. She's an icon and someone who inspired me a lot as I grew up with her.
Avec ses films et ses performances, et elle fait partie de ma.
Well, I grew up with her films and performances. She's a part of my film mythology. So yeah, I was a bit intimidated. But our first meeting was great. She was kind and cool. She has so much experience and shows such strength when she's acting. She does it with such realism that you're swept along. Sometimes actors play off against each other, but with Jodie Foster, you play together. I compare it to dancing. The choreography would be the script which we dance to and invent things to go with it. Left, right, forward. We do it with our own selves. And then something happens between the actions, cuts. It's hard to explain, but you get carried away. Because a lot of trust was created, I could let go and lay myself bare to her.
Merci infiniment, Tahar Rahim.
Merci à vous.
For 8 years, I have been dreaming of being in a courtroom. Now that I'm here, I'm scared to death.
You know, I think I figured out why they built Guantanamo down there. My client, he's not a suspect. He's a witness.
Mr. Slahi, would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me?
The Mauritanian.
When it came to casting that fearless lawyer, the role went to the one and only Jodie Foster. And the actress is also here at Cannes to receive a very special prize, an honorary palm. It's an appropriate accolade for someone who has a long and illustrious history here at the festival. With a career spanning 5 decades, Jodie Foster has captivated audiences worldwide, catapulted from child star to 2-time Oscar-winning actress. 5 years ago, the Los Angeles native, whose real first name is Alicia, received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
I had to pass this street every day as I was on my way to school.
Foster first appeared in commercials, then TV shows, and on to Disney films. At just 12 years old, she was cast for a role that would change her life, an underage prostitute in Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver. The film was released when she was 14, making her a sensation at the Cannes Film Festival.
C'est le meilleur rôle que j'ai fait dans ma vie. Et je trouvais que c'était la première fois que j'ai aimé ce que je fais.
She began learning French at a young age at the Lycée Français in Los Angeles.
Je suis très mauvaise en orthographe, et en dictée, et en latin, et en espagnol, et en sciences.
Et en cinéma?
Non, j'espère que non.
She went on to study at Yale, one of the most prestigious universities in the U.S. She filmed in France regularly, including For Moi, Fleur Bleue, or Stop Calling Me Baby in 1977, and in 1984 for Claude Chabrol's The Blood of Others. Her American accent became barely perceptible.
Qu'est-ce qui vous a intéressé dans ce rôle? Surtout de travailler avec Chabrol et d'adapter un roman de Simone de Beauvoir, surtout.
A women's rights proponent, Foster often chose to play strong, intelligent, resilient women. Her role as Clarice, an FBI Academy student in The Silence of the Lambs, earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress.
C'est la première fois dans le cinéma américain, je pense, c'est la première fois qu'une femme partage le mythe de l'héros.
Foster publicly came out as gay in 2013. She is currently married to photographer Alexandra Hedison. In addition to acting, Foster also produces and directs, further anchoring her legacy in the world of cinema. For more from the 74th Cannes Film Festival, do check in with us here every day on Encore in Cannes and on our social media channels. That's all on France 24.
They are aged between 25 and 35 and represent a new generation of non-voters. They dream of a better world and totally reject today's politics.
Il n'y a pas un parti politique aujourd'hui alternatif qui peut émerger avec des médias pareils.
Instead of being part of the system, they aspire to a new way of life.
Vivre en dehors des normes, c'est un acte politique.
Watch Reporters on France 24 and France24.com and learn more about how the young are thinking in France.